Is this thing focusing? There we are. Cool. Alright, well, there's something that I really need to get off my chest. Before I start, I just want to preface this by saying that I love reading Quora articles, right? I get emails, of course, in my email, telling me about some particular articles and questions that have been posted to the website. And some of them are good, like there are a lot of thought-provoking discussions that happen on Quora, and for that I appreciate the website. But there are just some questions that make me wonder what the sanity is like for the people that post them. I'll explain. You've got a question that came through in my email folder that goes as follows, right? It goes like this. If my child has all Fs, what should I do about his birthday? Now, that immediately made me remember about times in my childhood when I got particularly and relatively bad grades, but my parents, or I should say my mother, would always encourage me to do better and would reward me for the progress that I had made, right? And I think, having said that, what I'm about to say is going to reflect that set of experiences that I had when I was younger. So, my first immediate thought is you shouldn't punish your child for having bad grades. That's just definitely not something that should be encouraged. I do think that there are some particular instances in which punishment may be justified, but just because your child is slipping behind in their grades is not a reasonable excuse in and of itself. I think that, in all honesty, what you should do is have an approach which encourages your child to do better, gives them motivation to do better than what they're already doing. Now, I'm not a parent myself, right? But I will tell you this one thing. In my personal experience, right, with friends and family and what have you, I always found that encouraging them by using their own strengths and abilities as a reminder to let them know what they are capable of, that is a very powerful tool to encourage them to do better. And usually it works out in their favor. It has worked for me, and for that, I have learned that doing the same for others is just as good. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to read through some of the comments here that people have replied with in the thread in response to the question itself. So let's go through them. Tess Levinsky writes, I get that you don't want to reward the low grades, but you should celebrate his birthday. Yeah, that's fair. I mean, the childhood birthday party is one of the most memorable moments a child will have in their life. I remember the first birthday parties I ever had. I remember them clear as anything. I remember them as though they happened yesterday. Damn, I just realized I haven't shaved. I'm definitely going to do that before the next video, I promise. Anyway, let's continue. When I was a kid, I would get so excited when my birthday was coming up. Now it's just another day, yeah. I mean, that's just being an adult. Life sucks. For a kid's birthday, it is a special day. In my house, I leave notes around the house at night, so when the birthday boy or girl wakes up, they will see the notes. Yeah, that's very thoughtful, actually. I remember when I was younger, on one of my birthdays, my mum had spent a good chunk of the early morning just sitting in the lounge room blowing up balloons so that when I would wake up, and eventually I did, I went downstairs to discover that the whole lounge room was almost like up to my knees. I was a small lad back then. I was up to my knees in balloons. Like, that is just one of the most crazy beginnings to any birthday I've ever had, and for that, I appreciate my mum because she has her problems. We all do, but that's one of the most appreciative things that's one of the things I can appreciate most, rather. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. I decorate the house even if we aren't having a party there. I do it for them. I want them to feel special because they are special. Damn straight. Well, okay. Now, I know that there are some pessimistic people out there who think that nobody's special and that telling your kid that they're special leads them to feeling particularly entitled to particular things. I can see how that works, but in all honesty, I think that the reason people become entitled is because of the fact that their parents were already the parents were already particularly entitled themselves, and their behaviors rubbed off on the kids. So I think it's not always the case of the child being particularly uh, special, so to speak. It's just a problem with the parents. But anyways, I'm gonna just skip some of this, and I'm gonna read the ones that I think are important to me. Tess later goes on to say that, quote, I've gotten Fs before. I remember being so scared to show my parents my report card. My dad would yell, my mum would give me the disappointed look, and my sister would have great grades, and they'd tell her that they were very proud of her. Okay, alright. It sounds to me, it definitely sounds to me as though that these people just don't understand how to educate their child in the sense of improving themselves. Like, I understand why they were disappointed because, if your child isn't doing as good as you'd expect them to, that's a little bit of a letdown. But just because it's a letdown doesn't mean that you should, uh, treat the situation as though it is a letdown because effectively it's really not that bad if your child gets lower grades. In fact, it could be something that is correctable through the course of understanding your child's mental capacities, thought patterns, and things like that. They may also need some encouragement. Reflecting back on what my mum would do for me when I was younger, every time I had lower grades, she'd always tell me that I have the capacity to do great things and that I just need to try to look at things from different perspectives. I need to approach the problems that we were given as school tasks. Fuck, I'm stammering. My mother would basically encourage me to try and find different approaches to various school assigned problems because, well, I'm paraphrasing here, but there's a man that I don't remember the name of, but he summarized life problems like this. Your life goals can be summarized like being a mountain, rather. I shouldn't say. Anyway, your goals are like mountains. If you want to scale them, you can choose any point to scale up the mountain, but if one path doesn't work, you shouldn't give up. You can always go back, find another way, and try it again. It's as simple as that. Just keep trying. Persistence is key. Anyway, back to the article. My grandmother was over at my house for about a week after my report cards came out. She talked to me privately and told me in a sincere voice that she knew I could get better grades if I tried. She told me that she knew that I was smart and to remember that there are different types of smart. People, some people are book smart, some people are street smart. Some people can remember things while others can't. Some learn by watching, some learn by doing, etc. I don't remember everything she said, but I clearly remember how I felt, and it felt like she believed in me. After that, I remember staying after school for math help, using my radio to record me studying and then listening to it while I slept. Look, I've tried listening to like lucid dreaming audio to stimulate my mind in a way which enables me to lucid dream. If you don't know what lucid dreaming is, it's basically, uh, when you become self-aware during a dream. That is to say, you become aware of the fact that you're dreaming whilst dreaming. It's really interesting, but anyways, I didn't know that you could use the same principle for learning. I mean, I've heard of it, but I didn't know if it actually worked. Anyways, continuing on. When I took a test and got a C on it, I told myself that I could do better, and I did. When I got my first A, my parents were so proud of me. It kept me motivated. You should try to figure out why he's failing. See, there it is. There it is again. I think one method of understanding how your child could perform better is by understanding how they're currently studying. I think it might pay to, yeah, see, this is why PTA meetings, parent teacher, sorry, they're not PTA meetings, parent teacher conferences is something that we have here in Australia. I don't know what they're called overseas, but basically how they function is you have a child's teacher hold meetings in their classroom, usually after school, and one at a time, the child's parents or family members go in to visit the teacher to discuss the child's grades and behavior. This is why I think it's very important for children to, attend these meetings with their parents, or even more importantly, for the parents to attend, because it gives the child an advantage because the parent understands the child during their learning situation. That is to say, that the teacher can provide, assuming they're a good teacher, one that actually does their job, one who isn't an abusive piece of crap. I've definitely had a few teachers like that. But anyways, it's better to have somebody who understands a child whilst during the time which the child is learning, explain what's going on, and even then, it's good to ask questions, talk to the child. The point is, don't punish them all the time. Now, I said earlier in the video that it could be justified to punish a child in these particular situations, but that only counts in situations when these children are being particularly, what's the word? They are intentionally ruining their own grades by being disruptive or breaking class rules or anything that is considered to be naughty. Oh, there are actually other things that I haven't considered yet. There are a few other things mentioned in another reply by someone who is a teacher, mentor, career guidance consultant, and I'll read it out, some portions. I might even include the link in the description of this video to this question. Now, just FYI, don't reply with anything stupid. I just want to include this link so that you can see what I'm reading, what these people are saying. It's very informative. I'm particularly, when it comes to child development, I think recently, because I've got a cousin with some disabilities, I've become more aware of people who aren't neurotypical or people with developmental disorders or anything like that. So in case you're wondering why I'm making this video, it's because of that, at least to an extent. The other part is just because I really hate the idea of children being punished over things that they essentially need help with. The punishment does not work. I cannot stress that enough. But anyways, back to the comment that I wanted to read, the new one. Let's have a look. This comment is by Magdeld. I'm sorry if you're watching this somehow. Please forgive me. Magdeld Barker, the qualified teacher mentor, career guidance consultant, says, "Your child is having a birthday. Hooray!" Oh, wait, is this recording? It is. Okay, brilliant. "Your child is having a birthday. Hooray! Let's celebrate this young life and the potential it holds." Yeah, absolutely. Another thing I've learned, young lives have a lot of potential. Particularly the younger they are, the more potential they have. And I'll elaborate more about the cousin thing in just a second, because this is particularly a keen subject for me, but let's continue. "Bring the balloons, a special birthday cake, bring on the joy of this super special day. As for the school performance, that is a totally different matter. Nothing to do with the birthday." Yeah, that's also another thing. It's completely irrelevant. Like, what the fuck? Oh, whoops, I swore. Hey YouTube, are you gonna blacklist my video from appearing in recommended sections? Or are you gonna not tell people that I've uploaded? YouTube's a bunch of shit cunts. Anyways, let's continue. "This child could have a learning problem, a slight hearing or sight problem." I didn't say slight, did I? Whoops. "A teacher or learner discord of some kind." See, that's a word that isn't really used in that particular context anymore. Discord, aside from in Overwatch. "It is your responsibility as the parent of this precious child to find out what is causing this trauma." Absolutely. If you know that your child is having a problem of any kind, it is your responsibility 100% of the time. Well, I shouldn't say 100% of the time. There are some exceptions, obviously. But if you are the primary caretaker of a child, it is within your interest to do what is necessary to assist this child. It must be absolute torture for your child to go to school and face ridicule and shame. Does the shaming and belittling carrying on at home too? Oh, that's another one. See, I'm almost certain that parents that child... Let me say that again. Bloody hell, I'm not working off a script here. Parents who punish their children over poor grades, I'm absolutely certain, belittle and abuse their children as well. You cannot convince me otherwise. Do some deep research yourself about the diet your child is on. Very often, too much sugar and carbohydrates result in poor concentration. Is your child eating too much... bloody hell. Is your child eating enough nutritious food on a regular basis to help him through the day with energy, being sharp-minded and alert? The energy slump caused by junk food and candy is dreadful. Yeah, I know, tell me about it. It causes drowsiness and lack of concentration. Ask yourself this: how much time do I spend playing, reading, laughing, cuddling with my child, one-on-one every day? Showing and expressing your love, building a bond of friendship, respect, and loyalty towards one another. Yeah, look, I'll say this again. My mum has always had her problems. I'm not going to deny that. But having said that, everyone has their problems. But one of the things that I can commend her for is the fact that her and I were particularly close when we didn't have problems, you know? And said problems only persisted more so when I was older, in my teenage years, as opposed to when my childhood was in its early stages, anywhere between newborn to 10, I suppose. But anyway, one thing I can commend my mother for is the fact that she would always read to me. We'd always laugh, you know, we were very close, you know, she'd hug me all the time, every day, even. Man, you know, I'm starting to think I should call my mother more often. But yeah, see, that's another thing as well that, you know, I didn't really consider, but it's obvious now that I think about it. Uh, Definitely maintaining a support structure that of that particular kind is very important for the development of a child because I'm not entirely sure what the implications are on a from a scientific standpoint, but anecdotally, I can tell you that having that kind of support structure makes one more confident in their own abilities. So I can see the correlation between a healthy environment at home being beneficial to studying. I wouldn't even say that that's just for younger children. I believe that that's a prerequisite for just about any field of study, whether it be elementary, primary, or secondary school, or high school, middle school. Even university, you know, like if you're in a loving home or in a home with someone that you trust and have a good relationship with, that's definitely without a doubt the most helpful thing that can contribute to your experience in education. Alright, so I'm going to talk about my cousin for a little bit because this kind of reminds me of her, and quite frankly, like I think this correlates with her environment. I just want to preface this by saying that I think my cousin is in a very healthy environment. Given her disability, she's getting all the treatment that she needs. You know, I don't actually remember where I was going with that. Yes, now I remember. So, I think the point I was going to make is, it's making me very happy to see the development, at least from an educational side and a neurological development, perspective. I don't know what I was saying with that. What I was trying to say is, I'm really happy to see the neurological progress and the educational development that she is engaging in, particularly with these disabilities. You know, I think it's making the point more evident, not evident. It's making it more apparent that despite the facts that there are these disabilities which are proverbial hurdles, having these support guides in her life, not just for her disabilities, but for her development in general, just like, neurotypical children. Is that right? Like in this particular context? I think it is, but anyways, there is a parallel there. They both need the support, and when these children get the support, they can both thrive. And I think the point I was trying to make there is it reminds me that no matter how disadvantaged you are with any disabilities or anything of the sort, you can thrive so long as you have the proper support networks that are required to make a decent person, i.e., you know, the close bond with parents, the encouragement, the constant reading, engagement with the children. I think that's the parallel I was trying to make. Holy shit, this video is almost 19 minutes long. But yeah, on to another thing that I want to quickly talk about. I think that, in my personal opinion, parents who find the need to punish their children for things like this are just complete control freaks. I wouldn't go so far as to say that they're narcissists. I think that there definitely are some narcissistic parents who are like this, but I would say narcissistic parents are more likely to be intimidating and abusive in the sense of giving their child put downs as a means of making themselves feel better as opposed to actually being a good parent. The parents who punish their children for the most ridiculous and outlandish things like this, they definitely need to be checked on. If you're watching this video by happenstance, or if this came up in the search results because you feel like you're being, abused by your parents, or you feel as though you're being treated improperly over things that you can't control, then, please do leave a comment or something. I'm more than happy to respond to it. I'd love to have a chat with you in the comments. I just wanted to make this video because, as I said, this came about in my email. The title of the question alone was enough to make me a little upset inside because I had a feeling that they at least considered the act of punishing this child over poor grades. I want to let you all know real quick that I'll be resuming Switch. I was going to say Switch, for fuck's sake. I won't be using my Switch for a while because both the Joy-Cons are busted as well. It's a really bad coincidence, honestly. fucking Joy-Con drift. My Twitch streams will be resuming very soon. I'm still in the middle of sorting things out in my personal life, so I apologize for not coming up with a schedule in these recent days, like I said I was going to. But anyways, I'm going to end it here. I just wanted to give my few cents on this particular subject. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed this video, let me know what you think, because I want to delve into making more of these kinds of videos. I'll see all of you soon, and I hope you have a good week. Peace.